So, topic of today is detachment, and I feel like detachment is such a beautiful, but it's double-edged sword. Detachment. Um, it's good because it teaches you that nothing is bound to you, or you're not bound to anything. Basically, like nothing really belongs to you in a sense. Like it does, but you know, if it goes away, then you should be okay with it going away, type shit. Whatever that is, like people, materialistic things that you even need. It's kind of the same concept as like it's gonna be like a very weird analogy, but it's kind of the same as like food being like you eating all the chips in the bag and then you be like it's okay because it's supposed to happen, right? Same thing, bro. But people don't really apply that type of attachment or that type of logic to more things and stuff, which is I don't really expect people to though. That's kind of a crazy, you feel me? But I feel like more people should think about things like that because when you detach, it's a lot stress-free living, and shit. When you realize that either it's gonna leave, not leave, but like one, well, yeah, it's gonna leave. One day it's not gonna be here no more. One day you're not gonna be here no more. You know, but to further articulate on detachment, I want to say detach from, you know, I'm not gonna say like earthly things because that's gonna sound kind of like crazy, but I say detach enough to, but you still have your like humanity, if that makes sense. Because detachment, like I said, a double-edged sword. The other side of that sword is if you try and detach too much, you lose that capable, like what's it called? You lose empathy, And I feel like that was my problem when I was first learning about detachment. I lost a little bit of empathy towards people, you know. And I was dealing with a female, and I was in the middle of learning and detaching from things and detaching from just detachment. Like I just you feel me? And I'm not saying I miss it or anything, but like reflecting, I definitely could have had more empathy towards that person, And it's like I said, like live and learn, bro. Live and learn. So I say all this to say, make sure when you detach or not, or when you detach, you make sure you're able to still have human decency. Be able to have empathy towards people, feel and feel just be human. Like there's nothing wrong with feelings and feeling a way towards things and having attachment, but you should be able to I guess detach from your attachment as well. As good as much as you are attached, you should be able to kind of be able to push away from it, type shit. Not always hold everything so tight or care about things so much. Because and I'm not saying treat your things like trash. I feel like everybody should you know you know not I don't know how to say it and not be like sound too literal about it or make people take it out of context. But I feel like shit. Just lost my train of thought a little bit. But my other topic I wanted to touch on today was about how you can't really control a lot of things. So basically, saying it's still focused on detachment, but when you realize like you can't control life or things that happen, even sometimes when you can control it, when it comes to relationships or dealing with other people or just dealing with life, like at a job and you know, or your car breaks down, or just stuff, life things that happen, cause shit happens all the time, bro. Just feel like, not, I feel like I would encourage people to just be able to be like, well, be able to look back on things and be like they had fun. I feel like that's another like sign of detachment too. I mean, you can just look back and it'd be bad moments in life or bad moments in whatever you're going through, and sometimes just find the joy out of that shit. Cause I feel like that's another thing that life is about too, is finding joy of like the past. You can't change the past. You can't change what you went through. You can't unchange the hurt or the happiness or whatever you felt at the time. But I feel like you should be able to look back and find at least a little bit of joy, like betrayal, if you were hanging out with some friends and, it happens, backdoor or, fall out, whatever it is, I feel like you should still be able to look back and not hold any resentment. Not hold any resentment and be like, I had fun. Cause I feel like that shows maturity as well, emotional maturity. You just look back and just be like, it was cool, like while it lasted. That's what detachment is, while it lasted. I probably should start off with that. Like shit, nothing is forever. As much as we want it to be, and as much as we throw the word around or throw the word forever around, nothing is really forever. Nothing is gonna be in your life forever. You might get lucky with a person. That happens. It definitely do happen. So, but I say that to say, just don't live like carefree. But I also say don't be so like tense and serious about everything. Just be able to feel your emotions, but not really like hold so tightly to them, I guess, if that makes any sense. I feel like this topic is kind of like a little bit upper echelon on some shit, but it's really not. But I just really don't know how to put it into words because I'm still kind of learning it myself. And it's like, I feel like I don't want to say that because I'm not trying to put y'all, I'm not trying to put my viewers down in no type of, but that's a very complex theme. Like detachment is very complex. Like it's like the baseline of detachment, and then shit, it's like fucking pamphlet of it, But I say my best advice for baseline detachment is just learn that everything, you're not bound to everything. Everything isn't, yours, I guess. Like it is, but it kind of isn't type shit. Cause it's gonna leave. And I'm not saying don't treat, saying whatever you got, like a person, your favorite, whatever, your car. Cause I'm not saying treat it bad. I'm not saying don't treat it with, treat it like it is forever. Treat it like you just got it, or treat it like, but just have that consciousness to be like, whenever it go, I'm ready. Like, you know what I'm saying? And be able to feel, you can still be able to feel that, the emotion that come with it. Detachment can go so far as you not feeling anything. And I feel like once you don't feel anything, that's like, you're not really human, If you want to like look at it like that, because when you look at like villains and TV characters and shit, and they like, maybe like an alien creature or something, they don't understand the human heart and stuff. That trope, is that's those are detached characters. They don't really they're not really bound to anything. They don't understand what it is to be human. But I say that to say, be able to feel, but not really dwell too much, I guess. I don't know if this is really like a good video, not video, but like a good description of what I'm trying to say, Like I feel like I'm kind of getting there, but I feel like I'm gonna lose a lot of people. But I just feel like, my advice would be detach, It definitely causes less stress, Makes you, I don't know. Like, I do know, but I can't really explain it. Like, it's a really good feeling to just be able to move on, though, Nobody really wants to be stuck on anything or anyone. My reason for learning how to detach was because I was, I was getting stuck on people that obviously didn't want me, They didn't want anything to do with me, and I'm still, or even when they leave, I would, feel deeply about that. But when I learned how to detach, I was probably, last year I was dealing with a girl and shit. That bit ended. I didn't even really care for real. Not saying I didn't care for real, but it was just like on some, like, it happens. People, people aren't for you. Everybody ain't for everybody. So like when I realized that, it wasn't like I just didn't care about her, because I really did, honestly. And me and her still cool. I ain't gonna say cool, but she texts, I respond. If I text, she might respond. Shit, I don't know. But moral of the story, just be able to feel, I guess, but not care. Nah, I don't want to say that neither though. That's an interesting topic. It really is. I wish I had like a person to sit across from me and talk about that with, because I feel like that would be like a better perspective for people. I feel like my perspective is like past baseline. Like I'm not trying to put myself above, but that's really what it is. Like it's not really. I don't know. I don't know.